Today we're going to talk about one of the Olympic lifting movements that a lot of people are interested in doing. We're going to talk about the jerk. Now the jerk is the final part of the clean and jerk, the contested lift, second contested lift in the Olympic lifts. The jerk delivers the bar from the shoulders after the clean to a position locked out overhead in one movement. Technically, a jerk cannot be pressed into a lockout position and must be received on straight elbows without getting there through a press. And this is kind of subjective at times, but it gets real subjective in masters lifters too. Some of those guys just clean and press and they go, white lights, that's fine. But technically a jerk is received on straight elbows after a push and a drop. And this is the important part of the jerk that we're going to teach today. What a jerk actually is. It leaves the shoulders with the force imposed by a rebound from the hips and knees, and the lifter drops either through just a squat movement by bending the knees, which in this is called a push jerk, and we're going to teach the jerk concept with just a push jerk. And then we will show you the more common jerk type, which is a split jerk. And the split allows you to drop quickly. For most people, it's an easier way to jerk than a push jerk. So we'll have, since there's a split involved in it, we're going to have to work on footwork a little bit and explain how this all works. And then we're going to put them all together into a split jerk. All right, first off, we're going to start by warming up with a couple of presses. So take the bar out of the rack, Chase, and just do a few presses with your normal press grip. Now, while he's doing that, let me explain that the jerk is actually performed with a different grip than the press. The press is performed with a grip that's relatively close so that there is not a moment arm created between the hand and the shoulder. We press with as close a grip as we can. But a jerk is not a press. Now the top position resembles that of a press, but a jerk is performed with a wider grip than a press because we are not pressing the bar off the shoulders. The jerk goes up because of the rebound created when you bounce off of your knees and hips. So the first part of the press comes up from force created by a vertical rebound, and it's not really a press in the sense that you're driving it up off of your shoulders. There is a drive and a jerk. It comes much later than the drive and the press does. So the grip width in a jerk is going to be wider, and another very important thing about this is that a jerk must be in contact with the deltoids as it comes off the shoulders because we are rebounding off of hips and knees. And that rebound must not be watered down by going through a slack position that sometimes results in a press having a narrower grip. The bar must be in contact with the deltoids in order for a jerk to be efficient. And that means that the grip width will be wide enough to facilitate contact with the deltoids. And another helpful thing about that is that the weight mashes down. If you can't get into an efficient jerk position with a grip even a hand width wider than your press, you may just need some more weight on the bar until it mashes down. But the bar has to be in contact with the deltoid in order for an efficient force transfer from the rebound to be transmitted up into the bar. Now let's explore the actual mechanics of a jerk. When you jerk the barbell, what you're going to do is not dip and drive because that's not nearly as efficient as a bounce model. The bar should be viewed in your mind as a long, springy thing like this. So that when you bounce like that, you are, in your mind, you're going to create a rebound in the bar so that the bar flexes down and flexes back up, and the upward flexion you catch, drive it up, and then drop underneath it. And this is what it'll look like from just the normal jerk position without a split. This is because the jerk is the drop. Go ahead. You'll notice that the jerk is caught on straight elbows at the top and is not pressed out. Again. All right? That's a correct jerk. That's the jerk movement. Now do a press out to show the difference. That is a press out. Any version of that should get red lights and a meet. And again, a correct jerk looks different like this. Just like that. You'll notice that he meets the bar with straight elbows and a trap shrug. So that's the mechanics of the jerk. The thing is started with a bounce. The bounce is caught, driven up, and dropped under with bent knees and hips that facilitates the lockout on locked out elbows and shrugged traps at the top. That's the actual mechanics of the shrug itself. Now we need to figure out a way to effectively do that with heavy weights. And that is called a push jerk. And what we're going to show you today is the split jerk, the type that's more commonly observed in Olympic weightlifting all over the world. Occasionally you see real strong guys that have mastered the art of the push jerk, sometimes called a squat jerk or a power jerk. But what we're going to show you how to do today is the split jerk. So we need to look at the footwork of the split. We're going to learn how to do this split without the bar, all right? And what we typically do to figure out which foot goes forward, I'm going to come in behind Chase right here, and I'm not going to tell him that I'm going to push him, but I am going to push him. Is that the right foot? With your left foot? Yeah. That's what you do forward? All right, good. I'm going to push him off balance. He's not going to know when I'm going to do it. It's going to be a surprise. I'm going to do it right now. Notice that he reached forward with his left foot. Now, if you're trying to decide which foot goes forward in a split, this is a decent way to do it. And once you've decided that it's going to be your left foot, take your hands and put them on your hips and just do the split movement a couple of times. And what you're looking for is landing in a position with your front shin about vertical and your back foot thrust back so that your center of balance is somewhere in the middle of these two. Go ahead and do one. Let's look at it. This looks about right. Now I want you to notice the angle of his back foot and his front foot. The back foot features a heel out, which could be thought of as toes in, and the front foot features toes in. And what this does is internally rotate both legs a little bit and produces quite a bit more tightness than the other position would. I can push him from the side and he can take quite a bit of perturbation if he's locked in. Now rotate out and relax this. This is kind of a sloppy position. Go back down. Like that? Yeah, about like that. Now let's, and I don't think you fake that much. It's just not as stable with it, with it cocked in as opposed to cocked. The heel should be cocked out. That's one way to think about it. This tightens the hips up and produces more stability. So in a little bit more and out back here a little bit more. And this should be the position of the feet at the split, okay? Now, we recover on a jerk from the front back. Because recovering from the front back produces the most vertical bar path out of the bottom in the recovery. Do it again. From the back, from the front, you're going to come straight back. Now, what I want you to do, let's get this all straightened out where it's nice and vertical. Hold your arms above your head. Go into the split. Go into the split. Now, hold your arms above the head. And what I want you to think about is making the bar go up in a straight line, just like we do with everything else. And the way you're going to do this with a heavy weight to make it go up vertically is you're going to take multiple steps, okay? So it's not one big step back, one big step forward. It's as many as needs to be, maybe 3 or 4. The idea, when the weight is heavy, it's not important when it's light, is to take the bar up overhead in as straight a line as possible. That didn't look real straight. See if you can smooth it out a little bit better than that. Hands up, now just a straight vertical line. And it'll smooth out with a little weight overhead, all right? The idea is that you start front, then pull the back, front, back, until we get up out of the bottom. It's essentially a one-legged knee extension from the front forward, like a one-legged squat with a weight up over your head. And that's how you're going to recover from the split with the bar. Now that we know exactly how the split's going to work, we're going to practice this a lot. We're going to practice this several times because we don't want you to have to think about what your feet are going to do once you get the bar in your hands, okay? So hands on hips, and you're going to be standing in the position here that you have received a clean. And it is approximately a squat width stance. Toes will be out for stability. You're going to have recovered from a front squat. When you catch the clean, you're going to be standing there and you have to split from this position. An efficient jerk does not require a reset of the feet between racking the bar and the jerk. In fact, an efficient jerk should take place with one breath immediately after the rack, and then you jerk the bar. So we want to nail down this footwork. So what we're going to do is practice several times. Now I want you to notice that Chase is not going to bend his knees and then push up. This form is sometimes taught as the dip and drive. We're not going to drive it up, we're going to bounce it up. So do one kind of the slow, conventional way, the dip and drive, like that, all right? And then recover. Now we're going to do it the more efficient way that involves a much faster bounce. Look at the difference. Good, much better. And in your mind, as you do this, the bar, you're creating a flex in the bar and then driving that upwardly traveling load up, catching it, and you probably are going to find that you're going to actually start pushing on the bar at about your forehead. Some pressing strength is actually involved in the jerk. You can't drop all the way down. You're going to have to, at some point, lift the load. But you want to impart as much upward momentum to the bar as quickly as possible. So let's do several of these. Just bounce and drop. All right? Recovering from the front foot each time. Real hard bounce. Hard bounce. Good. I know it's hard to bounce without any weight on you, but bounce. Real, real hard. Okay? Again. Now, as you do these, stop and check your feet. We're programming the feet to do the correct split. Again. All right? Now, this is a good time to point out the fact that if the feet are too narrow together in a line, that's not near as stable as a wider split between front and back across this frontal plane here. Recover. Try to go out a little bit better than that. You might want to think about keeping your feet left and right in the same line parallel to the sagittal plane that they are occupying in this position right here. Go ahead. Keep them out. Much better. And recover. Again, if you tightrope, as it's said, and your feet go from here to here, feet should go from here to here, from right here to right here in the same track. This won't be stable, okay? And you can see why. If there's a lateral spread between the front and back foot, lateral stability is improved. Do it again. Just like that. Good. And then when you recover, your feet ought to be in the same line as they started off. Again. Good. Now you may need to do this 100 times in order to get this down. But by the time you get through programming this in, your footwork ought to be fairly well set so that you don't have to think about it when we go to the next step with the barbell. Again, just beat this into you. Beat this into your head that feet go back and forth in a straight line, the same stance width that they're in right now. One more time. And recover front to back. Now, one more important thing about the split. If the front foot and the back foot separate forward and back, a lot of people at first want there to be a trajectory in that movement pattern, all right? A rainbow takes longer than two straight lines. So what we have to learn how to do is to reach forward with the heel and reach backward with the toe in straight lines from the standing position that you're assuming at the top of the jerk. So what you're going to do, take your stance here. The front foot reaches the heel forward, and what you do is come from the heel lifts up, the heel reaches forward, and the heel slaps down. At the same time, the back toe goes straight back. All right, so let's see this. That's about right, and recover. Notice that there's no air under the feet as they separate. Do it again. Okay, reach forward, and the louder the front foot slap, the faster the movement is taking place. Okay, one more time. Reaching forward with the heel, and then reach back with the toe. Now, depending on the error the lifter is making, you can either cue the front heel forward, or you can cue the back toe back, depending on which he's doing wrong. If he's not reaching far enough forward, then the front shin won't be nearly vertical enough. But if the error seems to be coming from an inadequate backward component to the split, you can cue the back toe as well at the same time and get the same effect. One more time. Big, loud slap, heel first. That's the way it ought to look. Josh Wells is here with us today. He's going to help us with the rest of this. We're going to take the bar out of the rack now, and the bar is going to be in contact with the deltoids, and whatever grip width is necessary to facilitate that is the one we're going to use. He'll take it out in contact with the delts. His elbows are down. The bar is as close as he can get it to the heel of his palm, and this being only 50 is not going to look real good, but this is the way the whole thing looks at the end of the deal. Let's do a couple. And you'll notice the feet move straight forward, straight back. The width is maintained, and the lockout is fast. Good. And rack it. Now, with an experienced lifter, this thing is going to look better when we add some more weight. So as the weight goes up, it's going to be a little bit easier for him to squeeze his elbows down to run the bar back further down onto the heel of the palm for a direct drive. Because remember, a component of the snatch is the press. The pressing starts probably at about the top of his head, maybe a little later than that. But any press that is, any jerk that is locked out overhead has got a component of pressing involved in it. And this is what it's supposed to look like, just like that. Pressing strength is important for the jerk. Okay, now at 90 kilos, this is far from his PR jerk, but you can begin to see that the situation starts to come together real nicely. Note the bounce and drive, not a dip and drive, it's a bounce. It's a real sharp bounce. And note the front heel going forward. Okay? Good. So the jerk is, there's a lot going on in a jerk, quite honestly. It's probably a little more complicated than the clean. Seems to be easier to teach a good clean than it does a good jerk. The thing to remember about the jerk is it's not a slow movement as you initiate the drop. It is a bounce and a drive. Don't think of the jerk as a catch at the top without thinking about the driving component upward. There is some pressing strength involved in the jerk, and presses are good for the jerk. If you are going to do heavy jerks, you need to do some heavy overhead work, and presses are the foundation movement for this exercise. A good assistance exercise for the jerk would probably be the push press, because the mechanics of the lower body are more similar to a push press than they are to our conventional Olympic press. If you're going to do the Olympic lifts, you've got to learn how to jerk. So look at this video several times and see if you can remember all the little pieces that go along with this. Take your time with your footwork without the bar. Learn to split correctly. Remember the foot position on the split. Remember not to tightrope. Remember the internal rotation of your feet. Practice that often. Practice it before and after you jerk so that the split is automatic. You split to the same depth every time. You split to the same width every time. And the feet do exactly the same thing every time. And that's got to be automatic. I hope this helps. Let us know what you think.